everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Samantha Powell, and I'm so excited to announce that we have a special guest host today on today's episode. It's Narin Nara. Narin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Sam. Don't get too excited. I consider myself a substitute Ben, but Ben's not going to be at the show anyway, so maybe I can upgrade myself to a larger capacity. But yeah, usually I'm behind, but yeah, I mean, we'll go in the forefront today.
Well, we certainly appreciate all of the hard work that you do behind the scenes, helping to make so many amazing videos and everything on AVIXA TV, as well as a lot of the interviews you do so well. So don't not give yourself enough credit, Narin. You can host this with me anytime.
Well, thank you so much. No, for real, I'm really happy to be here. It's actually fun to be on this side or this perspective. For once, usually I'm doing some interviews, or sometimes I do some of these interviews with our guests and all of that, but this is my first stint as a co-host, so this is amazing. Thanks, Sam.
No pressure. No, you got
no
this.
Pressure at all. But yeah, I know we were thinking about some things to talk about, but I know we did something pretty fun recently, actually. To those who don't know, we're going to be live streaming a ton of stuff from InfoComm at InfoComm 2025 in Orlando, and part of that live stream, obviously there's a lot going on that week. So part of that is also pre-recorded content. So fun fact, Sam, myself, our other esteemed producer, Charles, and a shout out to Yulia Popescu, one of our staff writers. She's amazing. We took an adventure over to Orlando and did some pretty fun stuff. I'd say it was a pretty great trip, right, Sam?
I think it was awesome. I'm so glad we got to do it. Yes, for those who aren't aware, there's a lot that goes into putting together AVIXA TV, especially live at InfoComm, that people are not aware of. So yeah, having the opportunity to get out to Orlando early and shoot some really, really great content. It's always so fun, and it's always good just obviously to catch up with my colleagues who I don't get to see all the time. But yeah, we got to experience some amazing things. One of the things that I'd like to highlight is our Cirque du Soleil tour that we got. It's going to be a wonderful integrated experience tour, and we got to meet and interview some of the most exciting, interesting people who really work really hard to put together such an amazing Cirque du Soleil show. Narin, what was your experience with meeting with our Cirque du Soleil folks?
Yeah, Cirque du Soleil, that was really incredible. It's for those who don't know, Cirque du Soleil, they have a show down in Disney called Drawn to Life, and it is incredible. I didn't get a chance to see it just because I had to fly out that day, but I know Sam will give her impressions right after this. But as for the interviews and the content we captured, it was incredible. We actually had an opportunity to talk to all the facets of AV that went into producing this incredible show. So we talked to someone who specialized in all the projection. There's very careful projection mapping with some of the elements in the stage to help, pardon my pun, bring things to life, right? So like you're able to like illustrate all that. So that's really cool. And then, we talked to someone about the audio and how it kind of immerses everybody and how it's designed in a very specific way to make people feel like they're part of the actual narrative, which is incredible. We talked a little bit about the automation side, which is actually very important. There's a lot of fail safes and switches to make sure that all the performers are taken care of and are doing their best with a lot of safety in mind and are protected when they're doing all these wonderful stunts that are very mind-blowing, to be honest. And and then we had talked about lighting and stuff as well, which actually really helps set the tone and stuff. And then of course, Sam, you had an opportunity to talk to we'll call him D1. That's what he goes by. He is the technical director, I believe, of the whole operation. And he was so passionate, so incredible. Actually, you saw the passion in everybody. We're so proud of what they do. Charlie Cox, who was the automation guy in particular, gave a story about how he married a performer and has been such a passionate fan of Cirque du Soleil finally led to a job as if before was a first responder, became part of the show as the guy that's in charge of the safety and all of that, or one of the guys. And he just mentions that, it just seeing everybody's reactions and all that. It's such an incredible story. So I really can't wait to put all that together so that we can have some really cool content.
You've got a lot of work because it was, there were so many great interviews. And as you said, everybody was so just truly passionate. You have some people like, oh, we're so passionate. No, like they eat, breathe, live, what they do, and having the opportunity to see the show, everything that they were talking about, I could just see it, how it all came together. I'm not one for like shock and awe, like, outbursts, but I'm literally sitting in the seat, like making all of those noises and seeing the performers. Oh my gosh, it was so breathtaking. I laughed, I cried, I ugly cried. It all happened with the shoulders and trying not to. And I was like, I never thought a show like that would ever, bring out those type of emotions. But I would say from an AV perspective, if you're new in the industry and you don't know anything about AV, if you were to go to that show, you would fall in love with the industry. You would see so many different facets. Yes, the projection mapping. Oh my gosh, how down to like the millimeter or even smaller than that things had to be timed so perfectly. It was just amazing. So so for those who get the opportunity to check out that tech tour, you're going to love it, or the integrated experience tour. Yes, it's going to be phenomenal. And if you have a chance to see it, definitely go do that.
Speaking of productions and stuff, we have a podcast that we're on right now. So that means we have some guests, right? So I know you had a great conversation with Lightware recently, not just Lightware, but our friend Roger.
Yes, a friend of the show. Roger was so phenomenal to get to chat with him again. Last time I saw him, it was around ISE, so it was good to catch up and see how things are going. And of course, he's telling us all about the latest and greatest and things that Lightware is doing in regards to USB-C signal management and some of their really, really great technology, their Taurus U CX platform. And he gave us a little highlight of what we can expect at their booth. I know that they've been working with a lot of great partners, so definitely want to check that out. But before you do that at InfoComm, check out my conversation with Roger right now.
Let's do it.
I'm here with Roger Takacs with Lightware. So great to have you back with us here on Backstage Pass, Roger.
Thanks, Sam. I'm excited to see you again. The last time I saw you was right before ISE.
I know. It was not that long ago. How was your ISE experience?
Barcelona has been an amazing time every year that I've been out there so far. And the Lightware booth was packed with people the entire show. So our little podcast must have worked to bring people in.
Good. Well, that's why we're doing it again. So happy to be doing this with you. So I know Lightware is just continuing to evolve alongside with the market. But for those who may not have seen the previous podcast or had the opportunity to stop by the booth, why don't you tell us a little bit about Lightware?
Sure. So Lightware was founded about 26 years ago. We're based in Budapest, Hungary, and we import everything from the European Union into the U.S. And for the entire world. All shoots out of the European Union there. About 5 years ago, we started some really cool new directions.
Well, that's awesome, Roger. So thanks for taking us at the beginning. So I understand that Taurus has really been a flagship product for Lightware. So thinking back to when it first developed, what was happening in the market at that time? And what were some of those challenges? What challenges inspired the creation of Taurus?
Well, the great news is that when we introduced Taurus back in 2021, and 2021 was during the COVID times, but the product was in development before COVID. However, because of COVID, demand for the Taurus product really started to take off. as it was the first product on the market that really integrated AV and traditional AV switching with USB and USB-C, which is what people were really looking for as they returned to work, which has been fantastic for Lightware.
That's amazing. And then, so once Taurus was introduced and, the market kept evolving and kept evolving, what shifts were you seeing in customer expectations? How did Lightware continue to adapt its product?
Well, one of the first things that happened after we introduced Taurus was the market said, hey, we need to be able to extend this. So we worked with the SDVOE and the Icron technologies, and we've introduced a couple years ago the extended version of our Taurus. So at InfoComm back in 2023, we introduced a fantastic new direction for Lightware where we were able to do it over Twisted Pair.
Oh, and what is that? You said over twist repair?
Twisted Pair,
Twisted Pair.
Cat 6A, Cat 7 cable to be able to go up to 100 meters.
Gotcha. Okay. See, I'm still learning all of the lingo. So I love having these conversations. It's always so helpful for me. So what were some of the needs and the pain points that you were seeing, like that's continuing to come, but that's continuing to help influence your next steps? Like, what are some of those problems that you're seeing these products solve?
Yeah. So what was ultimately happening then was, well, after you give someone the ability to extend it, the next thing they want is the ability to put more screens in the room. They want more input locations. So last year at InfoComm, we introduced our UC over IP, or our TPN version of the Taurus products, so that we could have essentially an unlimited number of input locations and an unlimited number of outputs to a number of displays. And we could bring in USB devices from anywhere in the room. So someone could have a pan tilt zoom camera in the back of the room while they're using a projector on the ceiling to make some really nice and complex rooms.
Interesting. And I mean, it seems that, this landscape is just quickly evolving. I'd be interested to know, like, what are some of like your main customers? Like, who's really using these products? Like, who would this be great for?
Well, I can't really talk about the names of the customers, okay. but there may be some pretty large companies that do some websites with some people in them where you post on these websites and share information about yourself, maybe what you do at work. And they, or maybe personally what you do, where they have bought a lot of these products for their rooms to be able to have successful meetings.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. we'll keep it a little secretive, but I see where you're going with that one. That is amazing. So yeah, continue to share with us if you don't mind, like, how is Lightware continuing to innovate and expand your solutions like in the marketplace?
Sure. So what happened after we introduced the standalone version, the extended version, and the over IP version? People started asking us to do more. And so we were excited to do more because obviously that's how you continue to evolve a product line based on market demand. So the next thing that popped up was, hey, can you introduce Dante into the system so we can bring our audio over IP from the Taurus into another system? So we introduced a Dante version of the product. And then people said, well, now I want to bring audio to the Taurus over Dante. So we introduced a bridge version of the Taurus where we had a Dante bridge, and we can bring audio in and out of the Taurus to be able to actually bring that to the PC and do some host switching and rename the audio feed on the PC or the Mac so that people didn't have to find the name of our product. They could just find the name that said room audio, click here to be able to do that and have the room be successful. But that's only the beginning of what people have been asking us for. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's a lot of people that have setups at home where they have multiple monitors in front of them, where you have your laptop and then you might have two more screens coming off your laptop using a docking station off of your USB-C port on your laptop. Well, up until we introduced our brand new version of the Taurus that does dual screen extended desktop, there's been no product in the Pro AV world that could do that. So we introduced that product at the end of the year last year, and it started to ship, and people are still are very excited about that, and then the ability to put that all over the place and have that desktop experience in the conference room with USB-C and USB devices. But of course, as soon as you go to the high end, people want the low end as well.
Of
And
course.
so, all of a sudden it's, well, can you give us less than what you've been doing in a Taurus? So, the question became, what do you mean by less than? And what they ultimately all they wanted was a USB-C port that would charge their laptop, output the HDMI to go to the display, be able to control the display to turn it on and off, and supply all those USB devices like the camera and the microphone to the computer that's connected, while that box can sit on the network and be monitored. So we can see how many times somebody's connected to it. We can work with a hot desking or hoteling software and tell people where people are connected in the room at any given time. So we've introduced that product as well this year, which is very exciting.
Wow. So it's got some really great interoperability, uses, and it seems like very easy to use.
Well, ease of use is absolutely something that we're heading for. We like to pride ourselves on automation. We look at this world where, years and years and years ago, AV started with a guy in a cart pushing it from room to room while you were in school. And if you were a student in a classroom and the guy in the cart showed up with the TV on a cart, you knew you were watching a movie. It was going to be a good day in class.
We love those days, Roger.
So, yeah, which was awesome because those were, first of all, when you're a student, those were the best days.
Yes.
But at the same time,
teacher, yes, all the things.
But at the same time, that was a very expensive model because you had to have a one-to-one relationship of an employee to a cart to be able to make them set up and move around from room to room. The good news was everyone had 100% success rate. You knew that thing was going to work, which is awesome because you get to see your movie. But, we evolved into installing rooms. We evolved into control systems. We evolved into video conference rooms. We evolved into less devices as VHS and DVD went away, kind of like that home phone goes away. And then we've evolved now into a little more automation where we've had a lot more customers that say, hey, I don't want to have to push a button. I just want to plug my USB-C cable in and have the room just work. And so Lightware has been very focused on that user experience so that when somebody plugs in their USB-C cable, which used to be just for charging, but now that USB-C cable is going to supply your audio, your video, it's going to charge, it's going to give you your USB host, and it's going to give you Ethernet all over that one cable. But that experience now is predetermined by you and me on how it's going to work. Instead of waiting for the end user to say, start the meeting, when they plug in, it automatically will start. And we're very focused on trying to make that happen. So we're debuting at the show something brand new in that area. So we've had the Lightware advanced room automation, or what we call LoRa, for a while now. We're introducing our cloud-based version of LoRa, which we're calling Clara right now because it's cloud-based LoRa, which will make it as simple as using a wizard to be able to set up these commands and do everything right there online to be able to make it just the most wonderful experience for all of our integration partners.
Well, it definitely sounds like Lightware has been incredibly busy and responsive to the market, and we can't wait to see all of these things that you have coming up at InfoComm. So, speaking on some of those products that you were just talking about, can you share a little bit more of what our attendees can expect? I understand you're going to be having some more interactive things like manufacturer trainings and so forth there.
Oh, absolutely. So, thanks for bringing that up. I always forget. But
that's what I'm here for. I got you.
Yeah, we've got some excellent manufacturer training going on this year. Last year, we hosted our USB Masterclass. We'll be hosting that again this year. In addition to that, this year, we're going to host our Taurus Use and Design Masterclass, which is a relatively new class that we've just started to offer. So the USB Masterclass is a great class so that you can learn why you're having all those USB problems. The Taurus Use and Design Masterclass is the class that shows you what those problems were and how we solve them inside of our products. where the USB class pretty much leaves you going, oh, there's a lot of problems out there. But the Taurus class is the one that actually solves all those for everybody.
We love solutions. Wonderful. And then also, are you going to be doing any fun booth activities or demos taking place at your booth?
Demos in the booth? Who does demos in the booth? Oh, no.
I don't know. Yes. It's a thing. Some of them, right?
So last year at InfoComm, we had 7 demos in the booth.
Okay.
This year at InfoComm, we increased the size of our booth a little bit, and we have 14 demos in our booth this year.
Nice.
So anybody who stops by our booth this year, you'll be able to see not only the newest and the latest and the greatest versions of Taurus and everything else that we have to offer, but we also aren't forgetting that there's some people that are going to be new to Lightware. So we also have the original Taurus type products that are going to be on display and show how they work and everything else, so that it doesn't matter if you're walking in as somebody who already works with us and you want to just see what's hot and what's new, or if you've never worked with us before, we can show you exactly why you want to work with Lightware going forward.
Wonderful. And you guys are a great company to work with. And I know you have a lot of partners that you're working with as well. Can you share with our audience just some of those partners, and how do these partnerships really help to strengthen the solutions that you're offering and showcasing at InfoComm, and why are they so important to Lightware's overall ecosystem?
That's a very big loaded question, but I'm happy to attack it a little bit at a time. So first of all, how important are our partners to Lightware? Lightware is not a company that's interested in making everything. We are a small switching focused company. So when it comes to video bars and collaboration bars and cameras and microphones, we're never going to make those products. We're never going to make a wireless system. We're never going to make a DSP. That's not Lightware. That's not who we are. That's not our roots. So partnerships with companies like Q-SYS and Sennheiser and Yamaha, Logitech, Barco, Poly. These are so critically important. Cisco, so critically important to us going forward that we're showcasing a lot of our partner relationships in the booth this year as well. We actually have an area where you can walk in and you can see how we work with Cisco, what it looks like on a Cisco Navigator. You can see how we work with Poly on an MTR over Android. You can see how we work with Barco with one-click integration on the Barco system over there. So these partnerships with Barco and their systems are going to be on display in our booth as well, in addition to just almost every camera bar we can put in the booth all over the place to show that we work with everything.
That's amazing. So even more reason to stop by your booth. I don't know if you know it off the top of your head. It's a quick trick. Do you know your booth number so we can tell everybody where to go?
In preparation for this podcast, I was told to be prepared to give my booth number. So we're at 3909.
I cannot stump you, Roger. You did it. I tried.
There's one more thing we're going to be showing at the booth that is kind of new and unique. And, I think that the whole table space, as far as a table cubby or a table tray or a table hole in the table, it's evolved. And somebody asked me a while ago, what do we need to put in the table? And I thought about it and I said, all we need is a USB-C connection. Just one USB-C connection replaces that power supply. It replaces the video connection and everything else. So we're going to be showing our brand new cable pop-up that at our booth this year. So please come and see this really cool USB-C cable pop-up to make everyone's lives easier. We're putting round holes in tables.
Round holes in tables. I like it. Simple enough. I cannot wait to come by your booth, say hi, and just check out all the amazing things that you have going on there. It seems like I'll need to make sure to schedule enough time to stay there for quite a bit. I'm so excited for everything that Lightware is going to be presenting at InfoComm. And I'm so excited that we had this opportunity to chat once again, Roger. It's been so great seeing you. And yeah, InfoComm's almost here. I will see you soon.
Thank you, Sam. I can't wait for it. I look forward to seeing everybody at our booth. And beforehand, you could actually go to infocom.lightware.com to find out more.
Everybody, check that out. And until then, we'll see you soon. See you there, Roger.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Looking forward to it.
Well, Sam, that's a really awesome conversation that you had there with Roger. He's always fantastic to talk to.
He's really great. I enjoy talking to him all the time. You got to get him on some more podcasts, but definitely looking forward to seeing him and Lightware at InfoComm. Definitely got to stop by their booth and just check out all the fun and interesting and just innovative technology that they're going to showcase there. So speaking of Orlando and going back to highlight our little trip that we had a few weeks ago, or even maybe last week. Time is just flying by so quickly. We had the wonderful opportunity to stop by Lifebridge Church and had a wonderful, wonderful conversation with so many people who were there. Narin, what were your thoughts on Lifebridge Church?
Yeah, that's right. So Lifebridge Church actually really caught me by surprise because the moment I walked into the giant space where they have their services and all that, it looked like a concert venue. It was actually incredible. There was this kind of moody fog with the beams of light. It was designed in such a beautiful way where it really adds to the worship experience. And I think that really goes a long way in making it feel like you're not only part of like whatever service you're a part of, but also like you feel this sense of community with all of those around you and feel all the emotions and all of that. But we had some great conversations that we got on video as well, which was fantastic. Talking about the front of house, all the tech in the back, the lighting, the sounds, how the sound kind of syncs up to everything. The part that I really enjoyed about them was how proud they were of the setup. Yet they mentioned that, they were being very resourceful of it. And in their words, good stewards for, managing the types of like equipment and stuff that they integrated. So they were very conscious of budget. They were very conscious of the quality of their work. And they were to find really creative ways to use this maybe older equipment or equipment that needed refurbishing and all of that. And just turning it into such a wonderful experience. So I think for people who are considering going on this tour, which I think is still open, there's still if you want to register for this, please do, because I think you're going to learn a lot here. I think a lot of people are going to take away is how to be resourceful, how to like make the most of what you got and use that in a way that can really be spectacular. So I really enjoyed just talking with the people there, taking in all the cool like technology and the mood and everything. It was awesome. I don't know about you, Sam. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely recommend the Lifebridge Church tour. Hopefully I said it right the third time. But yeah, as you said, it was a really just enriching and engaging experience. I got to go see, was it Monitor World? I think it was back there. But yeah, they really do focus on like doing more with less and just seeing, learning about like the volunteers and, all the time that they're giving and putting into something that they're so passionate and means so much to them. It was just a really heartfelt and really great experience to meet with them and just check out, they had a whole setup where they did the songs and paired it obviously with the lighting and just, it was, as you said, it was emotional. So yeah, definitely check out the Lifebridge Church tour. If you have time to do it, go sign up for it. You will not be upset that you did.
So one other group that's going to be in Orlando is Vizetto. And we had the opportunity to talk to Vizetto, Mark in particular, Mark Metzger, with Av over at Vizetto. And they talked about some really cool, engaging ways to boost up your presentation with some of the technologies that they've incorporated. Av even does a live demonstration. So if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or wherever, tune into AVIXA TV and watch that version, and you can see a live version of this demonstration. So Sam, how about we check out this interview?
Let's take a look, Narin.
All right, Mark, have at it.
I'm joined by Av Utukuri from Vizetto for a very special interview on Backstage Pass. Now, the reason this one is unique is because we're going to talk, but Av is also going to show off some very cool tools for hybrid meetings. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're definitely going to want to check out the video version of our conversation on our YouTube channel or on avixa.tv. Av, you ready to go?
Absolutely.
So part of what is so exciting to me about this conversation is that Vizetto has done a lot of research on the neuroscience of engagement. So let's start there. What are some of the things you've learned in your research? And in particular, what makes it so hard to stay engaged during virtual meetings?
So great question. One of the things that I realized is what Zoom and Teams do is 100% the opposite of engagement. If they wanted to do a worse video conference experience, they couldn't do any better than that. Because what happens is people go full screen and all the data becomes full screen. The camera image becomes a tiny little postage stamp somewhere. You're not seeing people anymore. And you're literally staring at a paint drying on a deck, right? And what happens is instantly most people turn their cameras off. And that's a pretty high indication of lack of engagement. Because why would you want to turn your camera off? Because you're looking away. You're doing something else, okay? Because if I'm actually talking to you as a person, I'd never turn my camera off. So, and anytime that you ask someone on a Zoom call or a Teams call, hey, Mark, what did you think of that? And if your answer was, sorry, your microphone got cut off, can you repeat that again? It's 100% the case that you're not engaged anymore. And that's not really your fault, right? That's actually Zoom as a platform, because what it does is it says your data is more important than you. And it's actually the opposite. You're more important than the data. Because otherwise I can just send a PowerPoint presentation out and people can just read it. Why do I need to be there?
And you gave the example there of someone sharing their screen and becoming this little tiny icon in the top corner of a virtual meeting. Why is it that things like seeing faces or interacting with content, maintaining eye contact, why are those so important for remote communication?
Well, yeah, let's actually do a thought experiment. Let's say I walk into a boardroom. Everybody has a paper bag on their head and they're sitting around the boardroom table and we all just talk. And I basically say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to remove the paper bag from my head because my hair's not done today, or, you know, I'm calling in from my bedroom right now. So I'll leave this paper bag on. How engaged is that meeting? Right? So what actually happens from a neurological perspective, 50% of your cortex, which is all of your sensory inputs, is actually pictures and images. We learn, emote, we do everything with our eyes. The second thing is you know how they say pictures worth 1,000 words? It's actually worth 60,000 words. Neuroscience tells you that you process images 60,000 times faster than you can read. I mean, there's an amazing amount of data. Also, did you know that if you read a real book that's a paperback and you flick through the pages, fundamentally different than reading it on an e-reader? Your brain just doesn't absorb. It's a lack of tactile feel, the smell, the paper, the page. It's just so many things that go into memories and engagement. So when you don't engage the visual cortex, when you don't connect to people, and there's also some great other thought experiments. Take a newborn baby, replace parents with an 8K full HD TV, okay? The baby as a newborn will not interact with the TV versus it interacts with people and faces. So there's a lot of data out there that we ignore when we get into a remote meeting. We put the proverbial paper bag on and basically come up with an excuse as to why we have paper bags and we don't engage. So the visual cortex is absolutely key.
Yeah, as someone who really loves reading real books as opposed to doing e-readers, I really appreciate that. Good affirmation that I completely agree with, that it's a completely different experience having a book in your hands. So those are some great examples. Let's get into it now. Why don't you show us a couple of demos, some of the tools and solutions that you have that can make virtual meetings a lot more engaging?
Well, let's actually share my screen right now and watch what actually happens. So this is your normal meeting, right? So what happened is the screen, 90% of your screen has been removed and is my deck now. And I'm probably a little postage stamp somewhere in the top. And these slides are changing and I'm talking to the slide saying, take a look at this, take a look at this. You have no idea where I'm pointing. You know, I could be looking in this direction on Zoom on a different monitor. That's also something that people don't realize. They'll put their content in a different direction, and then people are looking in all directions on Zoom. Our bodies actually go through this mental contortion going, what are they talking about? Then we just tune out. So what we do is we transform that remote meeting into something like this, where I actually have the content And when I'm actually looking at this, I can point out, I can circle, I can ink, I can highlight. And what that does is it's engaging something called reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning is the idea that when I write or point something specific down, you eyes are seeing what I'm talking about, your ears are hearing, listening, all to the same information. You're not reading something else while you're hearing something, because normally your eyes are darting all over the screen, right? So in reinforcement learning, I can see what you're looking at and I give you visual feedback. If you're confused, I can go, hold on. Actually, Mark, did you get that? Like, this is what we're talking about. And the second aspect is called associative learning. Associative learning is this idea, hey, Av, I see that you have a bunch of videos. Can you show me any video related to that particular install? Okay, in Zoom, I go stop screen share, get away from the PowerPoint, start screen share onto a video. There's a huge gap. There's a huge disconnect. Things are not actually associating together. Whereas in reactive, I can actually pull up that video right there and say, this video is this, and take a look at what we did on this job site. And why is that important? If you go back 5 years ago, the most memorable meetings that you have are where you associate things. Like you spill hot coffee on yourself in a meeting where there's a squeaky chair, or let's say you got into a fender bender going to somebody's meeting or a meeting. You'll never forget that in your life. Why? Because you associate powerful emotions with a whole bunch of things that actually happened in the meeting. So what reactive does is it brings reinforcement learning and associative learning back into the mix.
And what I love about this too is that it really does feel like you're in a collaboration space together, right? To be able to point to things like, if you know, this is very similar to if you had a whiteboard in a conference room and you're working together on a project. I mean, this feels completely different than what you were describing in terms of just a static PowerPoint and someone walking through slides.
Absolutely. Well, let's actually unpack that whiteboard comment a little. We've all been in an industry. How many years have we been selling whiteboards? 20, maybe 25 years. Okay. So Mark, you're part of AVIXA, InfoComm. You're in the AV tech space. Honestly, tell me the last time you had to say, I have to go to the office, get onto that XYZ whiteboard in order to go ahead and do some work. When was the last time?
We usually do summer meetings as a group. So yeah, that's something that we always do. We're more of like the sticky on the wall type of company.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. But you do that once a year, maybe?
Pretty much. Yep.
Okay, fair enough. So what you're saying is, okay, how many times in a year do you use your phone? Your
hourly, yeah, minute by minute. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
So you can't compare. What you're doing is you're using your whiteboard as a glorified piece of paper or a glorified touchscreen to join a Zoom meeting because I'm clicking a button. Okay. Yep. It's actually not a great use case for a whiteboard. That you can't go to a customer and say, hey, you need 50 boardrooms with whiteboards everywhere. Why? Because when you have your one yearly summer meeting, maybe somebody will come up and put up a sticky note on it.
Right.
Yeah, let's go do that and stop, right?
Right.
So what actually happens is whiteboarding, I realize, is very bad for brainstorming because we don't work like that. If you're typing up a whole bunch of notes and whatnot, I'd rather go into a Google Doc or a Word or Excel and start, like, I don't want to write on the whiteboard, take a picture, save it as a PDF, go back to my desk, reconvert it. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. What whiteboarding is really good at is, I realize, is pointing things out, is attracting attention, bringing animation to your slide that is dynamic, that I can go, yeah, we do have an office and industry space right here. Take a look at this brochure, and we talk about that here. That is, very powerful whiteboarding that you'd use every single day then. Because if this meeting, let's just say, had 15% more impact. Actually, we've got data to show that it's a lot more than that. If you're sales, marketing, training, you're showing your channel a new product, you're launching something, you're a CEO doing a town hall, what's 15% more in any job worth to you?
No, huge sums.
It's 50%.
Right. Well, I think too, I came from more of a video production, creative type of background. So I think all the times that we were pitching creative presentations, right? And so it's not just a static presentation, but there are reviews that need to be done, right? So videos like you're showing right here all of those things. Oh, I like the color in that one, or I, change that background right there. That type of feedback, to be able to do that virtually, is a huge time saver. It's a cost saver. It's, more sustainable, right? Because you're not having to travel so much and be in person for every single meeting. That's where my mind goes immediately with something like this.
Well, also the problem is when you normally have a video on Zoom and you go, I'd like to change this scene, pause here. I'd like to do this. Somebody's going clickety, 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 typing away.
Yep.
How do you describe something where, hey, I like this, I don't like that, but I want to put our logo here. How do you even type that up? Right? Like what's the percentage of mistakes that happen? Then you get back onto the next meeting, the logo's here, and this is over here, and that's over here. And everybody's sitting around going, no, we had the same conversation. Remember that three blind people trying to go ahead and describe an elephant. One guy is holding onto the trunk going, it's a huge snake, and somebody else is holding onto the tail. So I feel like a lot of remote meetings are like that. We're all talking about the same thing, just thinking we're describing the same thing, but because we're shutting off our visual cortex, it's incredibly difficult to be on the same page.
Yep.
And that's why the next meeting, people get frustrated. You didn't listen to me. The meeting notes don't make any sense. And how many times have we all looked at the meeting notes after the meeting and actually reviewed everything? Come on, let's,
Right.
So it's not visual.
And thinking about that feedback process and that feedback loop, sometimes it's far more expedient just to say, let's hop on a quick 30-minute call. Let's all go through it together rather than having stakeholder by stakeholder do kind of individual feedback. Then it's conflicting, right? So to be able to work collaboratively in a space like this, I would think would be a huge time saver, I think, for many teams too.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you actually have to be able to do that virtual pointing. It's comparing documents. It's being on the same page with each other. If you can't do that virtually, then the companies that can do it virtually will have a massive leg up. And these days, what's going on in the world, and every little bit of competitive advantage is critical. Every meeting that you can save a mistake, like I'm not saying you're going to solve all problems, but what if you can solve 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10, right? What's the cost?
Absolutely. Now, talk us through a little bit about what's the process like to get started. So let's say there's someone who's interested. Yes, I'd love to do this, but this looks pretty complicated. What's the barrier for entry? Is it pretty simple, or is it going to be pretty steep?
Yeah, my favorite story is we actually have a school in Peru that ordered 180 licenses, not even in Lima, it's in Arequipa, and they don't speak English. So they discovered our product through a podcast or a webinar. They downloaded the free trial off of our website. They played with it themselves. And the entire deal in tech support is being done using Google Translate because they don't speak a word of English. I don't speak a word of Spanish. And, I've got 180 teachers in that school actually using it on a daily basis. So if they can do that, I don't know what else I can tell you. You can be up and running in 5 minutes. It is, hey, set up a folder with content, pull it up, there's media, there's library. I can pull up that, PowerPoint. I can resize it like I do on a phone. I split through, I pick up a pen, ink, highlight. Now, the right type of hardware, the right type of setup, everything is important. So we walk our customers through all that. That's my job. That's what we do. We onboard people every single day, and from the most complex to the simplest applications and use cases. But what I basically tell people all the time is, look, don't try to boil the ocean. Come up with a very specific, narrow use case. People are coming in on a daily or a regular basis to do X, Y, and Z. Start there. Okay? Because somebody will come in and go, I want to do this, and I want to do this, I want to do this. Okay, let's baby crawl, then toddler walk, and then you can then start running. There's an enormous number of things they can do. For example, here's a document, and here's a camera for the room. Like, how would I set up a system where I have a presenter camera, but then also I have a room camera where it's actually looking out at the audience? Now, this is very critical for a lot of town halls. What if I'm the keynote speaker? Now I'm answering questions, but I also want to see audience participation. We're doing this right now. You're off on a different window, right? I'm on a different window. You're going to stitch this podcast together. It becomes really complicated to bring all these pieces in together. Now, if you're doing post-production, that's fine, but it's a lot of time and money. What if you're doing it real time?
Well, Av, really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through all of this technology. Super, super cool. And in my opinion, a real game changer when it comes to how we can make virtual meetings a lot more engaging. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you know your booth number for InfoComm this summer?
Oh, gee. Yes, I do. It is I'm right here. 2864. There we go. Booth number 2864.
Perfect. There you go. Well, yeah, if you want to check out any of this technology, highly, highly recommend that you go visit the team at Vizetto. Av, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk us through it and show it off. And we'll be seeing you in Orlando soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, as always, Mark, for doing such a wonderful job, and definitely can't wait to check out Vizetto at InfoComm. So I'm going to stop by their booth too. I've got a running list of every booth that we're going to be stopping by in between filming. So I've got a good pair of shoes to swap in between the heels when I'm filming. So, we got to do that.
That's right. Yeah, I hope you get your shoes ready. Hope you get ready, run a marathon. Prep yourself. Carbo load, do everything, do all of that.
Oh my gosh. If people want to know where to go in Orlando during our little trip, I definitely stopped by many places and have a lot to show for it, and a lot to lose now. But
Absolutely.
That's fine. Lots of good places, so I can give some recommendations. So now, Narin, I think we've come to the end of our podcast together. I must say, you were a wonderful fill-in. You may be, challenging Ben for his role here. So you've done fantastic. How are you feeling?
Sorry, Ben, I'm the captain now. But Ben,
take over.
It's a pleasure being substitute Ben for one day. I really enjoyed it, and I hope I did good. So thank you again, Sam, for letting me join. I think Ben might be back for next episode. But speaking of next episode, we got some great interviews coming up for that as well. So for next episode, we're going to be joined by Listen Technologies, and they're going to be talking a little bit about some of the assistive listening technologies that are out there right now. And they talk about the ADA stuff, but also how this technology can be used with a wider application in the AV industry. So I'm really excited to check that out. And then also we're going to be joined by Ruckus. Ruckus is going to be talking about some of the pain points for adopting AV technologies in the enterprise level. And also, a little bit about AV over IP and like some of the things that they're going to be doing at the show. So that should be a great conversation, right, Sam?
Absolutely, Narin. I'm so excited for all of those conversations, and I can't wait to see what you come together and put together in production, since you're so good at that. I will miss you in this role, but I know you're going to put together some amazing content and get that out to the people. So you've been wonderful here, and I can't wait for us to do this again.
Absolutely. And I've always wanted to do this, but let's close it out. So for Backstage Pass, I'm Narin Nara, that's Samantha Powell, and we will catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
See you later.